et tous.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you to... Please come back to your seats. We are going to start our closing session. Closing the Palmarès 2024 day. Some of the winners have been on the stage with you all day, but they will all be on stage in a few minutes after the closing speech by our minister. But before that, Olivier Ginon is going to join us on stage to conclude this day, to conclude Palmarès 2024. Thank you so much, Olivier, for being here with us at the end of the afternoon as the Vice President of the Sports Economy Sector, Filière Economy. So do you want to take the microphone or do you want to stand at the rostrum? Mr. Minister, Sports Minister, welcome in our home. Thank you, Gilles Avrous. This is probably one of your first time at the Maison de la Mutualité, and it's probably your first time with all the wonderful men and women who worked towards the success of the Olympic Games. So we're very proud to have you. But I would also like to thank the advisor of the President of the Republic for Sports, Cyril, and also dear Sarah, because together we have been working on this economic sector of sports. So in 2015, the Minister for the Economy has asked me to head the filière économique of sport. And today, when after the Olympic Games, after the Rugby World Cup, I believe that the work that was done with the small companies, the subcontractors, the entertainers, people working in the entertaining world, every men and women, all the men and women who worked on this, with all the volunteers, we can really feel like we have achieved our objectives. And I think as an entrepreneur, as also a president of GL Events, I can really, on behalf of all of those, thank everyone. Because in the last, in my opinion, I've been working on large sports events for the last 35 years. And what we saw in Paris, I must say, is incredible. We have to thank the organizers of Paris 2024 with the quality of the work that was done. There's also the CSR lady for 2024 who's here also. When you realize everything that we have managed to reconcile, everything happening at the Porte de Versailles, at the Grand Palais, at the Invalides, at the Place de la Concorde, at the Versailles Castle, everything that was done, all the work that was done by all the different companies that work, we should all give ourselves a round of applause, something we don't do very often, but please give yourself a round of applause to all of you. So there were thousands of men and women who for many years worked really hard with all their hearts to really do the impossible. They were asked to do the impossible. We have our partners from Luxembourg here in the room, 8,000 kilometers of cable for the Green Games. We got green energy coming from entities, but then we also had a loop with the electrogenetic groups. So usually we take the groups, and if there's a problem, we use the grid. Whereas we did the other way around, which means that all of the companies really work with the mindset of showing that waste was not synonymous with Paris 2024. I go to all of the games, I've been to all of them for the last 35 years, and I have to say that the work that was done by all of the companies, all of the different entities was exemplary. If we look at all the energy that was spent on game bashing before the games at a certain point in time, we should be proud. And if you look at the security forces, at the law enforcement authorities that were smiling, everyone, all the people who were cleaning were smiling. It was a human experience. experience, there was sort of like a global chaos and then chaos in our country. I think it was great to all gather together. And as an entrepreneur, I am proud to have supported, to have taken part and done my best to support and help all of the companies that work. I want to thank a woman called Claude Revel. She has done remarkable work, and I'm going to ask Claude Revel to stand up. And we should all give her a round of applause. So when I accepted to be the vice president of the filière, I immediately asked for a GIE, France Expertise, to be set up. And this was done thanks to work of Frank Lartigue, who is here, who's been with me throughout the experience. And I think we should be really also giving a round, thank Bruno, and give him a round of applause for the quality of his work. So this this GIE, so why did we choose Claude Revel? It's very simple. She comes from the auditors world. We wanted a cut between GL Events, the president of the filière, and all the different companies that really were trying to work in the game. So what she brought to us is her know-how, her rigor, but also her full commitment, and this is really with the bottom of our heart that I would like to thank her. Mr. Minister, I would also like to thank a gentleman who's here, who worked in the previous event. It's Julien Colette. The Rugby World Cup with the test events were really the launching period for the large sporting events in France. A few words about the future. Mr. Minister, we have to start working again. It's not as easy. The Director General, Olivier Ferratan, next week, as early as Sunday, will be in Los Angeles. We have a team who works there permanently. We need to continue what we have done. It worked in a lot of different countries, but being there in Paris, being French, and getting all of the different tenders that we won, that Paris 2024 were won by a lot of the companies that are present here today. What I think is the most important thing is to make sure that we bring everyone together and make sure we have the means to continue to make sure that the GIE continues. Claude Revel has to stay with us. We need to have further means with us. We have to bring more companies on board, because French success abroad is to make sure that we are there as a group. So, Mr. Minister, welcome in this group. Welcome in the clan of people who have made these games a success. I think I'm going to give the floor to you right now. Thank you very much, Olivier Ginaud. Thank you to welcome Gilles Averroux, the Minister for Sports, Youth and Community Life. Go ahead.
Dear Olivier, thank you for those kind words, for your warm welcome. Good evening, everybody. As we said a moment ago, there are annual events, but which perhaps have a particular savour some years, like this one, after the Olympic Games, which everybody is unanimous in recognising as a great success that brought our country together. And I think we really demonstrated, and I would like to thank Tony Estanguet, who embodied these games, for achieving that. We have succeeded in demonstrating that sport can change lives for sports people, but also can transform the image of a city, a country, can generate pride, and make sure that and make French and even European people proud of what we can do. As we said a moment ago, our entrepreneurial ability and our companies can now go hunting abroad. We've given a good image abroad. I was at the European Council of Sports Ministers recently, where France was thanked for the quality of the Olympic Games and the image we gave, the positive image we gave of France and also of Europe. And I think this is something on which we can build and to boost our standing, our reputation, and our local and national companies can build on this. I would also like to thank the President of the Republic for his role. Earlier, when we talked about the Minister of the Economy, who placed trust in him to develop the sports sector for major events, we owe this to Emmanuel Macron and to his forward vision, which helped to organize the Games and will also help us tomorrow to organize the French Alps Olympic Games. The next major event, even though between now and 2030 there will be other events where our companies can show their abilities. What we need to communicate about and what we need to be proud of is the positive economic impact. This is something that is being said at the moment. Obviously, trends in GDP are followed closely in periods of budget debate, and Olympic Games is 0.2 points of GDP extra. And sport in the national economy represents 2.8% of our economy. It's huge. Hundreds of thousands of jobs. Hundreds of thousands of jobs. And our fellow citizens perhaps weren't so aware of this before the Olympic Games. Today, very certainly, they're more aware of this. But earlier, I was talking to Tony Estanguet. I was talking about Tony Estanguet in Paris 2024, and we'll see on the 12th of December next, we will see that the Olympic Games financed the Olympic Games. And even if local authorities did pay for some facilities, most of the effort was made by companies. So I'd like to thank you for the role you play day to day, the role you play in these major international sporting events, and also in the role you play in society, with many of you employing sports people. That's also important historically. Often it's the army, the Ministry of the Interior, the customs, who would employ high-level sports people and enable these men and women of talent to to go and win medals today, and I hope even more in the future. We're going to make it possible to recruit even more promising young people, to enable them to develop without too many financial worries, to develop their sporting skills. This is very important for able students, for able sports people, and also sports people with a disability. The greatest added value, I think, of these Olympic Games came from the Paralympic Games and the fact that all of us were made aware of the importance of sport in our lives, including for women and men who do have a disability. Tony Estanguet, I keep repeating his name, but he often says, very rightly, that the day when there were the most paying spectators was the 7th of September for the athletics at the Stade de France, and they were Paralympic events that day. That's the day when the most tickets were sold. So we have really made progress in this area, and internationally this is something which will remain like the other key feature of these Olympic Games, which was the fact that they were the first Olympic Games with as many women athletes as men in competition. So we can be proud of all of this, because we all remember the quality of the opening and closing ceremonies of both Olympic Games. This equality between the genders will also be remembered, and also the importance of the Paralympics. And I hope that if there is a legacy of these Olympic Games, it will be people doing more sport, as in this national cause we've been talking about today. There are already results there with the number of members joining our sports clubs, and also with an increase in individual sports activities every weekend in our towns and villages. There are more and more people going running or doing sports activity, and this is a challenge in which we have been successful, of which we can be proud. And as Olivier Ginon said earlier, the challenge now is to forge ahead and to take this momentum and this pride and not to let up, and despite the fact that the national cause is annual, next year we need to continue increasing people's participation in sports and physical activities in schools, in companies. In a few days' time on Saturday, there will be the Vendée Globe yacht race, and there I'll be going to visit companies to see the impact of daily sports or physical activity in the business world. Thank you to each and every one of you. Congratulations to all the members of the jury, and particularly to Sarah Ramoun, who headed the panel of judges. And as you may have seen in the press, she is also taking up a particular challenge, as she is a candidate to be the president of a sporting federation. And it's rare for that to be the case in boxing. So if you could stay with us to welcome the award winners to the stage, if you could give a round of applause to all those who have worked behind the scenes. Marie Jaillant, who has been behind the scenes all day and who's now going to moderate this final section, Executive Director of Global Sports Week, who organised today with her team and with the Minister to hand out the diplomas. We'll ask the President of the jury to join us, with one of the members, Didier Boulon, Director General of Business France for Sport. If you could come and stand in front of the shape over here, where we have the diplomas, and we're going to ask the award winners to come up on the right over there, and then to come to the middle. So now we know what we're doing. 51 award winners who will all be receiving the same award. There's no rankings, no special prizes. They're all winners here today for the contributions they have all made, and which made such a success of recent major international sporting events. We'll go by category, as we've been doing by this morning, starting with planning and event delivery. Doublé, who contributed to the latest editions of the Games by providing no fewer than 11,000 flags for protocol events and for spectators. Philippe Biraud from Doublé to receive the prize, the first diploma. If you could then come and stand on the stage. And also, you saw them this morning. They're not here this evening. Geo Racing, who are also one of the winners, but can't be with us this evening. And as Geo Racing aren't here, we mark on to Gerflor, who you also heard earlier today, who provided 33,000 square meters of flooring for the Olympic Games. Gerflor, with Pierre Guénard, receiving his diploma. And obviously, we also have GL Events Live, with 70% of the temporary infrastructure installed by the group. We congratulate the teams of Olivier Ginon, Olivier Ferraton, and Hurricane, who you also met earlier today, who contributed to the incredible site at Place de la Concorde this summer. Hurricane, also on the stage. Thank you for being with us this evening. Kineo, of course, with Vincent Debarry, who took part in the Olympic village and also the village for the Rugby World Cup. Thank you to you. Now, Loxam, who played an essential role at the Games with the provision of the temporary infrastructures on all the incredible sites for the Olympic Games. And now Modus, new consulting, who devised the volunteer programs, organized simulations, and organized the team. And Philippe Uni is with us. We can give him a round of applause. And now Natural Grass, who we also heard this morning, and who provided the turf for stadiums and for the Rugby World Cup. Augustin Rochman, Sales Director, who you heard earlier, for Natural Grass. And Osmose Ingénierie, an agency which designed the athletics track at the Stade de France. 3 works of planning, 6 months of work, a very rapid transformation of the Stade de France. Welcome to Osmose Ingénierie. And we move on to one of the representatives of the Panam 24 grouping. We have the 3 agencies who worked on the incredible ceremonies of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. So that's Panam 24, who you heard with Thomas and Philippe this morning. We also, in this category, and then we'll have a second line just in front because there won't be room for all of us. Don't hesitate to move in front. Playground, next, who you also heard earlier, specialized in event design and who managed the vehicle fleet and transfers during the Games, during the World Cup, and during the French Open every year. Jérémy Blondin, who picks up his diploma. Then Spartner, who you also heard earlier, who support many events, working on many different issues of organization, transport, services. And please don't hesitate to stand in front of each other, never mind. And then we will move you all around so everybody can be seen. And the last representatives in this first category, with events, represented by Pierre-Henri Vallon, who you heard earlier, with the QR codes for access control for the opening ceremony. 14 winners. That was Pierre-Henri de Ballon for that first category. And now innovation and technological solutions, Marie.
So we're starting with Atos, who supports large events for many years on technological issues, security, on cloud. And I think Mathias is with us, of the major events director. There's also Fast Story. It's interactive technology that engaged over 5 million fans since 2024 with games, with contests in the digital zones. Fabien Sier, he's the co-founder. He's here tonight. We also had Chino Map, one of the winners that you've already heard earlier today, talking about the Marathon for All, and who has offered its indoor training app. So we said that there was supposed to be gender balance in the games. It's going to come. So we're going to welcome Orange Events for their networks that connected the events in 5G on the Paris Games, but also on the Rugby World Cup, and also the Downhill Championships and the European Judo Championships. Orange event in the Palmarès 2024. And also Christophe Carniel of Vobo, you heard them before, through its audio solution and video solutions, supports the the audience, the spectators, but also the organizers. So we have 20 winners with Vobo in that category. The third category experience and engagement with Accessible, which was on the stage earlier today with the audio description comments and all the innovative solutions that Julien Vakovsky has told us about earlier today. We also have Accor with Stéphanie Dartevel. Accor operated the Athletes Village and the Media Village using its hospitality experience. Welcome, Stephanie. You can go to be at the center of this family picture. Please make room for family in the middle for Accor, winner of this Palmarès. Banque Populaire Caisse d'Épargne with Auditoire that were on the stage earlier with the incredible mobilization in the various territories of France around the torch relay, Aurélie Benoît and Julien Benoît. And then Decathlon that provided the shirts for the 45,000 volunteers. We also have Eurosport that was here earlier with Géraldine Ponce. They're coming on stage. Eurosports broadcasted the games through its Max platform, the full games, 3,800 hours of coverage during the games on Max and Eurosport. Second, winners for Marathon for All Fitness Park with Thomas Mendoza, the Director General, who also was on stage earlier today in the afternoon. And then for France Télévisions, again, you heard the figures, the incredible figures, the exceptional coverage of the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games of Paris 2024 with 50 hours of daily coverage. So Thierry Berset, who's the director for sports, there to get his diploma. And then the Havas Play agency that supports sports player for a long time, and Augustin Payen, who is there for the World Cup, the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and then Audio, who has transformed the spectators' experience on the smartphone. Gauthier Dels, the CEO, is with us this afternoon. We have Paul-Émile, who's present with us. So Paul-Émile is the CEO for Sport Heroes. We also have WeMap. It's interactive map and navigation solutions for the events and the Paris Games, amongst others, with Timothy Heres, who is the Director for Development. Do come to the front. There are so many of you, so we'll take turns for the final pictures. Do not worry. And the last winner is the Westfield, that has launched a large campaign in all of its malls to promote the Olympic values before the Games. And we welcome Nathalie Pajot about this. Good evening, Nathalie, who is the marketing director of Westfield. So 32, a lot of people already, but they're not all here yet. And the fourth and last category, the sustainable practices and legacy, with Adidas and Auditoire that mobilized together the Gen Z for Paris 24 with the Adidas Grand Paris project. Congratulations for that initiatives. We also have the ADP group that is represented by Renaud Duplay, the Deputy Director General, that mobilized expertise to welcome the athletes. in the Paris airports. And then we are going to give a big round of applause to Aerofields. They are the ones who did the balloon for the cauldron. They improved the quality of the air in the village. Mathieu Gobi, the CEO, is there. And then Trio Control that innovated with cold bath that enabled to spare 3,500 tons of ice for the games. So this is Cryo Control. Bertrand, EDF, EDF that provided renewable energies for the games with its innovative facilities with the electrical flame in the cauldron. We also have Enedis, but the representative had to leave earlier today on topics that are really quite close to. And also the Ephemer Square, who is going to come on the stage with its 4,000 meters of modular facilities. Bertrand, can Bertrand go to the back? You said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we'll switch. We'll take the picture. So, Ephemer Square. And then TGW, the group that implemented recycling collection.
TGW, oui, il y a Juliette et Alexandra.
Alage is now coming on stage. Alage set up sustainable landscape temporary gardens with recycled material. Adrien Rosichard, Director of Operations, is coming on stage. Unfortunately, the Conciergerie Solidaire, unfortunately not with us tonight, that did the linen at the village. Linen management at the village. A winner that you heard, Marius Almo, co-founder of the Pavé, and the 11,000 seats that were made out of recycled plastic at the Olympic Aquatic Center and at the arena as well, La Chapelle. So, Lemon Tree also provided solutions for collection of waste for sorting waste and also provided solutions to deploy it. There are people who do soccer and are used to pictures. So Loca Cuisine, 82 modular kitchens for the Olympic and Paralympic Games with spaces for the athletes and the volunteers, and 95% of the equipment were reused after the events. Florence Span, who's Director for Development Muto, who is there to reduce waste in the event by reusing the material that is used for the various events and giving it to non-profits. And it's Vincent, you heard him earlier today. He's coming to get his diploma. Sporeo, yes, Sporeo, also distributed derivative products for the Paris 24 Games with a desire to also be responsible French production, biological matters, and reuse. And then Stadium Go that did co-commuting. It's also the Director General coming on stage with us, Olivier Lega for Stadium Go, for carpooling. And then also Synergie Insertion, not here tonight, but we'll need to mention them. So they are people who are working in security, cleanliness, and logistics for insertion of people. The collective that Nike France, Team Go Girls, is there to encourage sports practice among girls. And before the games, and I suppose also after the games, Frédéric Sanor and alors Mateka, social directive impact at Nike. Again, you heard the CEO, Arthur Chadel, for Touch to See, and their touch tablets to provide experience to visually impaired people during the games, amongst others, but not only during the games. Arthur Chadel is there with the tablet, always with him. And then to finish, the 51st winner, Will Skip, that you heard earlier, who offers bicycle parking to make sure there is sustainable mobility on our events. So we probably have a great family picture to take, but to make sure that it's a good picture, people will have to kneel, the tallest one will have to go at the back, and we also need to welcome the other members of the jury who are with us tonight and contributed to make this selection. Vincent Roger, who was with us, the ministerial delegate for the Cause Nationale 2024, Olivier Ginon, who is represented by Bruno Lartigue, if I'm not mistaken, David Rai, who's the co-founder and associated director of Come Over, who Cédric Roussel, also as member of the jury, is coming on stage, Mathieu Barnet for the CNOSF, the National French Committee, Patricia Delesque for the DGES, Laurent Letailleur for the Directorate for Sports, and Lucien Boyer for the Global Sports Week. And then finally, this is where we realize that being a photographer is really something that has to be done by professionals. So good luck to the photographer. What could we do? So maybe people in the front seats could sit down so that the photographer could take the picture. There are people at the back who are holding their diplomas above their heads, but don't hide the people standing in front of you. Are the women at the center? That's a good idea also. Need to have a really good photographer so that we can release you. And then we need to thank all of the teams who've worked for weeks on end to prepare this day. All the teams around Lucien and Marie, all of the teams, technical teams here at the Mutualité to offer this day, everyone who worked behind the scenes to make sure this event was a success. Congratulations to all of you. And for those of you who are invited, the cocktail is about to open. Have a great rest of the day. See you soon. Thank you, Gaëlle. Give her a great round of applause. She's done extraordinary work since this morning.